Week 7 of the Big 12 football season is wrapped up, and there were a lot of things that went as expected and some that I did not see coming. Let's talk about all the games, what happened, and what it means for the Big 12. The only thing we ask of you, as always, is to subscribe right now to the channel, like the video. We are setting records on these videos. It's because of you doing those little things, sharing it as well with friends and family. So it is great to have you here. As always, I'm Pete Mundo. HeartlandCollegeSports.com is where you find us covering the Big 12. So let's start with the game, to me, that a lot of people questioned in my predictions for this past week. And maybe I'm biased saying this because, of course, I'm in the Kansas City area. So I know a lot of KU fans. We have a big KU audience, along with all the other growing 16 Big 12 fan bases. But there were many in KU land who were convinced that KU could give Texas Tech a run for its money. And that's part of being a fan. I'm not knocking anyone who thought that. And trust me, there were things I was wrong about this weekend, which I'll get to as well. But I start with Texas Tech beating Kansas 42-17 because Tech continues to dominate. Tech continues to prove that it's not just the best team to beat and the team to beat in the Big 12 until proven otherwise. It is proving to be a team that I believe is going to be able to compete with the best of the best in a college football playoff. They still have not won a game by fewer than 24 points. They won by 25 on Saturday. And that's because they just owned Kansas in the trenches. I think David Bailey just had another sack. I think I just saw that somewhere across my screen on Sunday, that David Bailey racked up another sack against KU. He was unbelievable, and the whole defense was incredible. Bailey had 3 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. As a team, Tech had 9 sacks and 14 tackles for loss. And this despite the fact that Baron Morton, Texas Tech's quarterback, gets injured again. Skylar Gill-Howard, stud on the defense, gets injured, has a cast coming off the field, an air cast. He comes back. The x-rays are negative. That's a good sign. But despite 2 incredibly important injuries for Texas Tech, they just lit it up against KU. And on the other side in the trenches, they rushed for 372 yards. 9+ yards a carry. 263 from Cameron Dickey, including that 71-yard touchdown early in the first half. Meantime, for KU, they had 1.9 yards per carry. 1.9. That's it. I couldn't believe it. And while KU got itself back in the game, they were down 21-0, and then they end up coming back into the game, and good on them. And, they didn't give up. I'm not saying they did it all. But there were things early on I was just confused by. I know they probably thought they had to use some trickery, but early in the game when Cole Ballard, their backup quarterback, has that fumble, I'm like, you've got a top 5 quarterback in the Big 12 in Jalen Daniels. Please don't make this cuter than it needs to be. Stop. Just don't do it. And it was pretty evident early on that you were not going to beat Tech at the line of scrimmage, and you saw Kansas change its approach as the game progressed. They were way too confident early on with the offensive scheme. Like Jalen Daniels was going to have time in the pocket to get the ball down the field. Like you were going to have a Cole Ballard package where he was going to run it between the tackles. Did you guys watch the Tech film? Like, have you seen this team at all this season? Unless you just figured their competition was weak, they haven't seen anybody quite like us yet, and we're going to be able to do things against them that other teams have not been able to do against them. And if that's what Kansas thought, well, they found out the hard way that was not going to happen. So Tech, even when it was 21-17, I don't know about you, but I'm watching the game and I just really never felt like Kansas was going to get, they were in it at 21-17, but I wasn't really concerned watching it as somebody who was all in on Tech and had bet Tech minus the points in this game. Even at 21-17, I'm just like, okay, Will Hammond needs to settle down, the backup quarterback for Texas Tech. He was not as good as he was against Utah. But what did they do in the second half? They got him running the football. They used him on the ground. He scored 2 rushing touchdowns. It's those things that Will Hammond did and that Tech's offense did to get him comfortable that really allowed them to run away with this thing in the second half. And you know what? Tech's defense pitched a shutout in that second half as well. And that really was the story. I continue to be most impressed by this defense. And some of you Tech fans actually disagree with me on that. You're like, no, we love the offense. The defense eventually is going to bend but not break. I'm not seeing that here. I mean, I have yet to see that. And this is against a pretty darn good KU offense. And Tech seemingly had no problem with that at all. I mean, look at the second half for KU. 4 plays, 19 yards. 3 plays, -8 yards. 6 plays, 41 yards. 7 plays, 31 yards. 5 plays, -8 yards. 13 plays, 45 yards. None of these drives more than like 4 minutes and change. I mean, this is what Tech is now. And it's weird to say, but they are defense, defense, defense. And it was darn impressive to watch on Saturday against the Kansas Jayhawks. I'm Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. Great to have you here. Make sure that you are subscribed to the video right now or the channel right now, and you like the video right now. We appreciate you doing that. Next up, we are going to go to early in the day, and let's talk about Cincinnati beating UCF 20-11. So I believe what's going to happen on Sunday here is that Cincinnati will be ranked for the first time since becoming a member of the Big 12. They were just outside the top 25 last week. I believe they'll be in the top 25 this week. And what you saw here was, first off, a Cincinnati offense that got going early, and then I don't want to say it slowed down, but it just did what it needed to do to get out of there with a win. And that was courtesy of a defense that, unlike Texas Tech, was not in your face, but was just that bend but don't break kind of a defense. UCF's offense got it going. Cam Fancher, their third-string quarterback, was better than I thought he was going to be. He led the team in rushing with 108 yards. Miles Montgomery really never got it going. He threw the ball better than I would have expected based on what I had seen, especially in that opener against Jacksonville State. But Cincinnati just basically said, we're going to keep all of this in front of us. And, you know, they were up most of this game. It was 17-3 at halftime, and then no points in the third quarter. And then you've got UCF tacking on a touchdown there in the fourth quarter when the game was basically all but over. So, you know, it was a comfortable win for Cincinnati, but it was, as cliche as that is, just a bend but don't break approach and mentality. And Cincinnati didn't have a great game offensively. And I think, and I'll give UCF's defense credit for that. They have had one of the better pass defenses in the country this season, which, once again, Alex Grinch, of all people, you got to give him credit. Guy's been run out of a couple of places. Last time we watched him in the Big 12 was in Norman. He was getting run out of there. They've had a pretty darn good pass defense so far. And by the standards of what Brendan Sorsby has done, he was kept in check. Did have a couple of touchdowns, threw for less than 200 yards, 12 of 21. But what I like the most, if you're a Cincinnati fan, the way that you're seeing some of these new pieces develop. Jeff Caldwell had the 2 touchdown catches for Cincinnati. This is a guy who is a transfer from Lindenwood. He's 6'5". He's getting better every week. He's getting more comfortable every week. And that's the kind of guy that Scott Satterfield gets out of the portal that, you know, isn't getting a lot of attention because he went to Lindenwood. And now he's becoming a force in the Big 12 against one of the better pass defenses, not just in the Big 12, but in the country coming into the game. And that was UCF, top 20 in the nation in pass D coming into this one. So credit where it's due. UCF nearly doubled Cincinnati's time of possession, and they ran 90 plays to the Bearcats 48, which I don't like to ride the fence on anything like this. But what I'll say is Cincinnati obviously did what it needed to do at home getting this win, but UCF did not play poorly by any stretch. They got a cover with that late touchdown, so good on them as well, if that matters to you. And they showed me more than I expected. If you had told me how the game was going to play out, Cincinnati jumps out to a big early lead. You know, they're up at halftime 17-3. They were up, 17-0 at one point, and they lose the game by 9. I would have said, okay, what can we knock UCF for? And outside of Cincinnati getting off to a hot start, that's the one thing where you say, okay, if you're on the road, you can't have Cincinnati striking big and striking early in the way that they did. But, that's all kind of nitpicking here. I thought overall, UCF played a pretty darn good game. They are showing improvement as a program, and that is a testament to Scott Frost and that coaching staff, and they're doing it, especially with a second, third string quarterback in Cam Fancher, who I would probably move into the second string. He showed me way more dual threat ability than you'll ever get from Ja'Cory Brown, but I still would go back to Taven Jackson when he gets healthy. So Cincinnati is now 5-1 on the season, and schedule for the Bearcats is going to get good. They've had some of these pretty good starts. They go to Oklahoma State next weekend. They should be 6-1, let's be honest. And then it's Baylor, Utah, Arizona, BYU, TCU to end the season. Those can all be coin flip games for this Cincinnati team. I'm Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. Grateful that you are joining us as always. Let's keep it rolling. And what do we want to talk about next? Let's go to Colorado, Iowa State, shall we? Colorado with the upset of Iowa State 24-17. And at first I was like, what are you storming the field for, Colorado fans? Stop. You were like a 2-point underdog. You guys were tied for first place in the Big 12 last year. Don't storm Folsom Field. And then I said, screw it. Forget it. Okay? This is college football. Let's have some fun. Enjoy it. Storm that field. Although I did see one guy, a student, got stuck under the goalpost, and a good Samaritan had to pick up the goalpost and let the guy get out from under it. So be careful out there. The video is on our X account. Just search Heartland College Sports. You can find us there, Instagram, Facebook. And right now, make sure you are subscribed to the channel here at Heartland College Sports, podcast and YouTube. But do we want to talk about the elephant in the room first on this game? I don't want to take anything away from Colorado. It's a good win. It's a top 25 win. Only the second one under Coach Prime. The first was against TCU back in 2023 when they were still members of the Pac-12. But the officials picking up the flag on pass interference in the end zone against Colorado that ended up being an interception. Oh, my goodness. Big 12 refs strike again. That was an embarrassment pickup of a flag. I'm not sitting here saying if you are a Colorado fan, you should in any way apologize for what happened. You have no business apologizing for what happened. I'm just saying deep in your heart, deep in your gut, you know that you got away with that one. And I'm not even saying Iowa State would have scored there, okay? I'm not sitting here telling you that this would have resulted in Iowa State going out there and scoring a touchdown and the whole game goes differently. But, you got a gift on that one. Let's just be honest. And Colorado played a good game. Iowa State, I thought, left a lot of opportunities out there. They had 7 penalties. They've had 15 penalties in their last couple of games. That is very un-Iowa State-like. But I couldn't believe that they picked up that flag. And Matt Campbell said after the game that because they thought the pass interference had no impact on the play, they picked it up. I don't believe that. I mean, it's very difficult to know what exactly would have happened in that spot if you don't have your big tight end basically being tackled and wrapped up in the middle of the play. Is he able to come back, make a play, break up the interception? I don't know, but I didn't think it was that clear by any stretch of the imagination. And for some reason, the officials did. And that was one I'm looking at, and I'm like, really, guys? Really? That was it right there? That's just unbelievable. They're right inside the, 10-yard line at that point, and Rocco Beck looks left, and he gets picked off. And it was, oh, my goodness, to pick up the flag there was quintessential Big 12 reffing. Big 12 refs had a couple of really bad calls. I know that's going to shock many. Wait, no, the Big 12 refs had bad calls on Saturday? Oh, yeah, they did. And we'll get to more of them here coming up. Don't worry at all. But that one in particular is the one that stands out above the rest in this game. That being said, Colorado continues to gain more confidence. Caden Salter continues to get better and better and better and more confident, and you saw that on Saturday. Iowa State's secondary has been decimated by injuries. A lot of us thought in the last couple of weeks that they would be able to plug and play. That's not been the case. Colorado did a lot of whatever it wanted to do down the field. They had some big plays. Salter was able to use his legs effectively down the field as well with some big runs. And, you had the 70-yard touchdown strike to Amarian Miller. But you had other big plays. Joseph Williams led the team in receiving. He had some big plays down the field. And Salter had time back there in the pocket as well. Iowa State was really not able to get a lot of pressure back there. And even Colorado's rushing attack, which has not been good, was balanced enough to keep the Iowa State defense honest and keep it on its heels. But the story is really Caden Salter, I believe, getting better, getting more comfortable in this offense, gaining confidence playing at this level in the Big 12 Conference. And that's something that we're seeing play out, I think, every single week. And that's why this team, which has played in, a handful of these one-score games, wins it on Saturday and was able to pick up a really solid top 25 win against an Iowa State team that, yes, has lost 2 in a row, is banged up, but I still think that Iowa State's going to be heard from in the Big 12. But now Caden Salter is starting to showcase his stuff and give you a glimpse into what his ceiling is. And he played a key game as well in the sense that there were no turnovers for him. And that's something that has plagued him so far, especially in Big 12 play this season. So this was a great step in the right direction for Colorado. I'm not sitting here saying I think they're going to compete atop the Big 12. I still don't see it. But I do see a team that is getting better. I do see a quarterback that is starting to figure it out, to his credit. And I get the sense that while I still have issues with Colorado, especially on the D-line, Abu Sama just tore them up. Iowa State has not been a good run team at all this year, and they just ripped Colorado for 236 on the ground. So Colorado still has issues on that defensive line that they have got to get figured out as soon as possible. But there are reasons to believe things are trending in the right direction for Colorado. And for Iowa State, they got to get healthy. And if they're not going to be healthy, well, they got plagued by injuries, which are self-inflicted wounds. And they got a couple of bad calls against them. But let's not take anything away from Colorado, who also was missing well over a dozen players in this game as well. But the secondary for Iowa State is what has to get figured out for this team to snap this 2-game losing streak and get itself back into Big 12 contention. So that one, credit to Coach Prime. That's a big win for him and the Colorado Buffaloes as they try to get this season back on track. We'll see how it plays out and where it all goes from here in the Big 12 Conference. I'm Pete Mundo. We are HeartlandCollegeSports.com. We would appreciate you liking the video and subscribing to the channel as always. Thank you guys for being here. We are next going to go to the BYU Arizona game, shall we? What do you say? And there are a couple of big takeaways from this one. And it once again ties into the refs who had themselves a bad night. BYU ends up scoring the game-tying touchdown in the fourth quarter, but they had the touchdown taken away from them on a play that was called an incomplete pass a few plays prior. If BYU does not come back to force overtime and score a touchdown on that final drive, we're once again talking about the refs in the Big 12, who stunk. Arizona actually got hosed, I thought, a couple of plays later in regulation when they got called for pass interference that I didn't think was pass interference. And the broadcast is like trying to tiptoe around it. I'm not sure about that one there, Bob. It's like, just call it out. The refs were not good in some of these spots at all. BYU ends up winning the game in double overtime on the road against Arizona, 33-27. And what more can I say than 2 words? Bear Bachmeier. The true freshman quarterback does it again. And what was so impressive about this game is that he overcame a couple of big mistakes, big interceptions. But what does Kalani Sitake do? They just feed him and they feed him and they put the ball back in his hands and they don't worry about the mistakes and they keep this thing rolling. And the offense looked really good most of this game. And that is a testament to, first off, the pieces on offense. The offensive line as well was great. LJ Martin had himself a big night. And Bear Bachmeier doing it on the ground, scoring the game-winning touchdown in double OT. 22 carries, 89 yards. Threw the ball. I thought he actually threw the ball pretty well. I know if you look at the box score, you'll see 12 of 29 for a $172, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But I'm telling you, man, this guy steps back. He's got poise for a true freshman. He's got confidence in that pocket. I'm not trying to blow smoke here at all. I just love this guy more and more every week. And he gets down, but he gets himself back up. He makes a big play. He's got confidence on the ground. He's running between the tackles. That number 47 is just fantastic to see because obviously it's not your usual quarterback number. And he's not, when he's running the ball, he's not looking to slide, man. And that may come back to bite him at some point, I understand. But for BYU to be trailing in this game the way that they were late, down 10 points, come back, force OT, win the game in double OT, was just a gutsy win to stay undefeated in 6-0 and do it against an improving Arizona team. Now, in double OT, I thought that Arizona, had an opportunity there. And on that final 4th and 7, that was just a bad play design. You need 7 yards, and you had 4 guys basically running towards the end zone. I don't get it. And there was a running back leaking out into the flat. But by the time that developed, Caden Salter was under pressure. He just didn't have any room to work with there. Not Caden Salter. I'm sorry. Noah Fafita. But Fafita basically had to get rid of the ball, and he's got 4 guys in the end zone. He only needs 7 yards, and you got guys running slant routes into the corner of the end zone on these low percentage plays. I thought that was a terrible draw up there on that 4th and 7. And you can see there's a running back who's starting to get open, but Fafita didn't have time. He was under pressure there. So he throws it to the left corner of the end zone on a low percentage pass. It falls incomplete, and BYU wins in double OT 33-27. So this was not so much about Arizona doing anything wrong per se. Arizona showed me that they are an improving team under Brent Brennan. That's what I saw from Arizona. I mean, I saw an offense that continues to look more comfortable. I saw some, great big plays from Hudson and Hunter, and even the running game is getting going for a $164 in this one against a solid BYU run defense that was giving up like 2+ yards a carry. And Arizona hit them for 5 yards a carry. So if you're an Arizona fan, you look at this game and you say, we lost it. It was double overtime. It was at home. There were weather delays. It stings. But you have to be feeling better about this program every week, even though you're 1-2 in Big 12 play. I think that's a completely normal feeling to have right now based on what this program has done over the last, few weeks so far this season. So, and that's what I'm seeing, a toughness defensively, a toughness offensively that just wasn't there, and it's there. Problem is BYU is arguably the toughest team in the Big 12. And BYU also has the best special teams in the Big 12, and that played a big role in this game as well. I mean, even on that final touchdown drive, it was Parker Kingston getting it all set up with a big return. And those are the kind of things, the little things, that BYU has traditionally done well and is doing well again this year. And that's why when people say, and I'll take some heat on this, I have said, and I said it going into the season, hey, BYU in all these one-score games, can they really keep that going? And the answer is yes, because the special teams are that good. the special teams are that effective. And that's where, you can point the finger at me. Now, BYU still a team that 3 seasons in, they're in their 3rd season in the Big 12. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of familiarity with as a Big 12 guy. But what I'm realizing and learning is that they win these one-score games for a reason. And you saw that again on Saturday, and that's what made this so impressive to watch. And the defense continues to ball out, even though you're like, wait, they gave up 27 points or whatever it was, right? And their 33-27 win on Saturday. Yeah, but you know what? That second half and overtime, you got double overtime, you have a third and a fourth quarter, and you give up a total of 10 points. It's pretty darn good. And to be down 10 on the road in the fourth quarter with a true freshman quarterback and come back and win it, well, that's big time right there. And that's the Bear Man. We got to get a good nickname for Bear Bachmeyer. I'm going to think of one here, and I'm going to share it with you at some point, maybe on the next show. That's what I'll do. We got the Monday show coming up. We'll do power rankings and mailbag. That's why you have to be subscribed. I'm going to come up with a new nickname for Bear Bachmeyer. And if you're a BYU fan, you can drop one in the comments as well. Or just a Big 12 fan, drop one in the comments as well. All right, let's keep it rolling here on Heartland College Sports. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Let's talk Kansas State beating TCU 41-28. This game was defined by TCU's missed opportunities and mistakes. And that is a bad game for TCU on Saturday. You could see Sonny Dykes. He was not happy all day long in Manhattan. And he had every right to be not happy. TCU lost this game because of huge mistakes and blunders. That's why they lost. They had the lateral pass in the first half that resulted in a touchdown for K-State to go up, 14-7 at that point, right? And then, of course, you take it one step further and you get a pick six in the second half. And when you've got a guy who a lot of us believe is the best or one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 in Josh Hoover, and you have those kinds of mistakes from your offense on the road, you cannot expect to win a Big 12 game. You just can't do it. And that's what happened. So these big mistakes end up with Kansas State going from a 7-7 game in the first half to suddenly a 21-7 game by the time you get to early in the third quarter, between the scoop and score on the lateral pass by Hoover to then the interception return for a touchdown by Desmond Purnell. And right there, I mean, you're on the road down 21-7 with those massive mistakes. It's difficult to come back and win. And even though they fought hard, they were down 28-7 at one point, TCU. They tried to make a bit of a comeback. They got some points on the board, but then you had Kansas State's offense really get in a groove. And that's where Kansas State had a great stretch from, late third quarter into the early fourth quarter. They had 2 drives of 10-plus yards and 74, 75 yards apiece that, led the 2 touchdowns for them. And Kansas State TCU did respond both times with touchdowns of their own. But at that point, they were already down 3 scores. So what? So now you're down 14 points? And then Kansas State, and the way its team is set up, is going to be able to get itself into a spot where they just are going to milk that clock. And they're just going to buy themselves time to get out of there with a comfortable win. And that's what Kansas State did. But it was those 2 massive mistakes that really came back to bite TCU on Saturday. And for a TCU team that has a lot of talent, as it's had each of the last couple of seasons, they are failing to turn those talented players into Big 12 wins. Since that run to the championship game a couple of years back, it has been disappointment after disappointment. And Saturday was, on a micro level, a disappointment. Now, you look at a TCU team that is sitting there at 1-2 in Big 12 play. And those 2 losses, Arizona State, who they led 17-0. And then this game against Kansas State, which they didn't lead at halftime, but they got to be kicking themselves based on how the game went. You don't watch that game and say that Kansas State is the far more talented team and roster than TCU. They just made fewer mistakes. And that's what it really was all about, watching this game play out. I mean, TCU had more penalties. They lost the turnover battle 3-0. And they got smoked in time of possession, 36-24, whatever it was. So you're not going to win many games, never mind on the road in the Big 12, with that kind of a formula. But for Kansas State, without Dylan Edwards, to get a win the way that they got it, to utilize guys like Garrett Oakley, continuing to be a big player, a couple of touchdowns on Saturday at tight end. That's the kind of stuff that I like to see from Kansas State. I thought Avery Johnson was better passing the ball on Saturday. Wasn't great, but better. Had some really good throws and some big-time moments. And he ran the ball more than he's run the ball in a while. And I want to see him run the ball more. I don't understand why Avery Johnson is not running the ball even more than what he is. I don't understand that at all. But I understand they don't want to get him hurt. But at the same time, you got to win games, guys. You're behind the 8 ball. You came in at 2-4. I mean, what are you afraid of? Getting them hurt and going 3-9? I mean, 3-9 and 5-7 are basically the same thing in college football. So do what you got to do to get the win. And that's on Matt Wells. I still question some of what Matt Wells is doing. It would be insane to say that, you would not question some of what Matt Wells is doing with that Kansas State offense. But this was really about an opportunistic defense, taking advantage, and then just in classic Kansas State fashion, doing what you had to do to get out of there with a victory and not having any big mistakes. And that's exactly what happened for the Wildcats on Saturday. They just kept TCU in check, and TCU, they still have to figure out that running game. Kavorian Barnes is getting healthy, had a solid day with 81 yards. You couldn't really put him on display when you're down a couple of scores. You got to get the passing game going. I get that. But they still have to build on Barnes and build on that running attack and find another option as well, because there do not appear to be many options in that backfield for TCU. But playing from behind is not going to obviously result in TCU running the ball a lot. And that's also an admission that, and a reality coming out of that game on Saturday afternoon. Pete Mundo on Heartland College Sports. Glad that you are here as a part of the show. We have not talked yet. What have we not touched on yet? Oh, okay. Let's do this one. 2 games that were total blowouts. I'll start with Utah beating Arizona State 42-10. Once Sam Leavitt was out, we all knew how this game was likely to go. Now, a part of me thought, hey, maybe Jeff Sims rises to the moment as the backup quarterback for Arizona State. But it became evident very early that was not going to happen. Jeff Sims was 18-38, 124 yards, and did not have himself a good game at all. And for Utah, listen, it was raining. It was nasty weather that obviously favored Utah to begin with. And what did you see Utah do? They get on the board right out of the gates, 15 plays, 75 yards, and they're up 7-0. And you're like, okay, this is sadly how I think this game is going to go. If you're an Arizona State fan, that's what you're saying to yourself. And then, Arizona State comes back, they get a field goal, and you're like, okay, maybe, possibly. Let's see how this goes. But then you get to that second quarter, and Utah just gets rolling, man. And this game was out of reach by the middle of the second quarter. Utah's up 21-3. You know that Jeff Sims is not going to take this team down 3 scores and win the game. You just know it's not going to happen at all. But, if you're an Arizona State fan, one thing that you probably were thinking to yourself was, hey, could our defense keep us in this one? And that was part of my hope as well. But the answer was no. Utah gashed them for 276 yards and 6.6 yards a carry. And they held Arizona State on the other side to 3.4 yards a carry and 135 rushing yards. Utah, one of the reasons I picked Utah to make the Big 12 championship game before the season is because I thought they were the best team in the trenches. Or I didn't pick them to win it. I picked them to get there. I picked Tech to beat them. And I'm sticking by my Big 12 championship game prediction for now because I see no reason to jump off of that bandwagon because it looks like a pretty good prediction in hindsight. But Utah's really good in the trenches. They've got a great offensive line and a stout defensive line. And Arizona State just could not compete down in the trenches in this game on Saturday, even without Sam Levitt. I'm not sure Sam Levitt, they wouldn't have lost the game by 32 in a 42-10 rout, but I'm not convinced that the way that game played out, Sam Levitt would have gotten them to a place where it would have been a highly competitive matchup. And to think that that was Utah's first home win against a Big 12 team is wild. But it was. It was the first win for Utah against a Big 12 team at home as a member of the Big 12. That's crazy. But it also goes to show you that Utah's been in a weird place the last year and a half. Now, I believe they're a lot better this year. They lost to Texas Tech as their other Big 12 home game, and that's going to happen, I think, to basically every team in the Big 12 this year. But they're in the win column as members of the Big 12 at home, so credit to you guys. Great victory, and now we get set for what? The Holy War. Oh, my gosh. I did my Chris Berman there with the Holy War, but I can't wait. That game is going to be tremendous. Oh, my goodness. That's going to be so good. I'm looking forward to it a lot. And for Arizona State, I saw this on social media, and I was like, really, guys? Come on. Some people were saying that Sam Levitt was basically, I don't want to say he wasn't playing on purpose, but that Sam Levitt could have played, but they wanted to make sure that he was healthy for Texas Tech coming up next week. Are we all watching the same game? Are we all watching the same team? I know Sam Levitt may be the best quarterback in the Big 12, but what have you seen from Arizona State this year? What did you see on Saturday from Arizona State this year, combined with what you've seen from Texas Tech, that makes you think that you would save your quarterback to make sure he's healthy for a bigger game against Texas Tech? Arizona State was ranked, and then you get blown out by Utah by 32. And you think that if you just kind of turn the page to Tech and pull off some miraculous upset, that negates what just happened on Saturday? That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. But I saw some of that being floated around by Arizona State social media, and I'm like, guys, I don't know how much you've been drinking today, but I'm pretty sure the answer to that is too much. Tech's going to Arizona State next Saturday, and there's no reason to believe that Arizona State's going to be super competitive or competitive at all in this game based on what's happened to both of these teams the last few weeks. Let's just be real. Lastly, we'll talk about Houston beating Oklahoma State 39-17. Big game for Connor Wigman. Credit to him. And Amari Thomas, another wide receiver transfer, UAB guy. Running back Dean Connors, a Rice transfer as well. Getting that offense going and picking up a very comfortable win as well. So those guys did exactly what they had to do. Early on, it was 10-10, and you're like, all right, when's Houston going to wake up? But similar to like the Kansas Tech game, where Tech's up 21-0, then it's 21-17. I didn't sit there and say to myself, wow, gosh, dang, I can't believe what's going on here. This is potentially Oklahoma State's day. I never said that. Even at 10-10, I was like, okay, when is Houston going to turn it on? And, suddenly they're up 24-10. They score a couple of touchdowns. It's 10-10, right? After an Oklahoma State field goal. And then you get 2 touchdowns before halftime, 2 quick strike touchdowns before halftime from Houston, and you're off to the races. And for Oklahoma State, the offense just never had any identity. They had those trick plays early on, the lateral to the downfield pass, the double pass that results in a big score. That was fun. But when you're doing those kind of plays early on, you're in for a long afternoon unless you hit a bunch of them. And Oklahoma State was not going to hit a bunch of them. And there was just no identity. I didn't know what the offense was under Sam Jackson. And, converted wide receiver who did not look good at all. He had a QBR of 4.2. You heard that right. Not 44.2. Sam Jackson had a QBR of 4.2. I'm pretty sure you or I could have a QBR of 4.2 in a college game at this point. 4.2 QBR. They can't run the ball worth a damn, 1.5 yards a carry. Can't throw the ball. Can't really stop anything on the other side. Run defense was okay, but it's going to be a long year in Stillwater. If you thought that Doug Meacham might show out enough to keep the job himself, that ain't happening. They got to just start this thing from scratch, burn it to the ground, and move on. Figure out the right direction in Stillwater, because this ain't it, man. But credit to the fans in section 232. I think it was 232 where you saw the fan base. Bunch of guys started off shirtless. Like 4 dudes were shirtless in section 230-something. And by the end of the game, you had 300 guys shirtless in section 232 or 233 at Boone Pickens Stadium. That's college football right there. That's what it's all about. We've got the photos up in our X account, search Heartland College Sports. That is a diehard fan base. Have fun, man. You got 4 years in college. Live it up. Even if your team stinks, go to the games, take the shirt off, have some fun, embrace it. That right there was college football. During the darkest years of Oklahoma State football in a couple of decades or more, those fans made it a spectacle. They had fun. It was awesome to see, and that was college football. And this is Heartland College Sports. I'm Pete Mundo. Subscribe right now to the channel. That way you never miss an episode. We've got so much more coming your way throughout the week here at heartlandcollegesports.com. Thank you. The show, the channel, the podcast keeps growing, and it's because of you. So thank you for doing the little things. The show is always free. We're grateful you're here. Have a great day, and go Big 12.